Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. The Norskins stretch off into the sunset, and they have enlisted some fearsome monsters of the north. We have the Norsca versus Dawi matchup, as Wei commands the Norscan horde, and TJ will be leading the throng of the Dawi. So for the Norscan forces, we do have Wulfric the Wanderer up on his chariot. He does have armor-piercing values when he is on there, but with the recent mass changes, we'll see just how well this chariot is able to perform. Hopefully it doesn't get caught up and shot to pieces by the Dawi. He is going to be bringing Seafang and Fight or Die, no Hunter of Champions. Little interesting pick there, as we do have a Fimir Balefina Shadows also with the Penundrum Pendulum, which is going to do quite well against the Dawi. It does have a massive nerf from its previous stats, but it is still going to be the Norskins' best bet at just clearing out the very heavily armored Dawi lines. And here are the pair of feral mammoths. They have a bonus versus infantry armor piercing. They do have fairly low armor, but with the armor piercing that the Dawi can bring, it really isn't going to make too much of a difference. And the only real question is it going to rampage into Slayers and get beaten to shreds, or is it going to be able to kind of keep in the fight? Because if it is able to stay alive and well, should do quite good work, and it is a massive HP buffer with almost 10,000 per unit. And for the rest of the forces is going to be Marauders with great weapons stretching off into the sunset, as we do have a pair of Marauder champions mixed in as well with great weapons. Usually they are kind of a niche pick considering their comparison to the regular Marauder champions. In this matchup in particular, they do have a nice little fit here, since they do have that very nice armor piercing, but they do lose quite a bit of stats in comparison to the regular armor champion variant. There is also going to be a pair of Norscan ice trolls as well, as they do have armor piercing and frostbite. They do suffer from that low leadership that trolls do suffer from in general, but they can be quite good, and they do provide a little bit of mass. I generally do like bringing them in my matchups, though with the recent changes in mass, they do struggle a little bit at pushing through those front lines, but otherwise they can do quite well. Now for the Dawi, it is going to be a very stalwart front line, as we do have a pair of Iron Breakers going to be holding that line, and Grombrindle, the White Dwarf, in all his glory, is going to be leading the forces. He does have the Rune Axe of Grombrindle and a Smoke Bomb as well. Now for the rest of the forces, we do have Longbeards on both of the far flanks here, and in that center ranks, we are going to have triple Thunderers. Now the Thunderer is going to be just lighting up the Norskins on their approach, but the long range is going to be in the pair of cannons in the tree line. Might be a little obstructed here, might be having a few shots ricochet off some trees in the process, and there is going to be some Slayers kind of going to be roaming that back line. The Dragonback Slayers, no less, keeping those cannons and crew online. And then just a couple of Dwarf Warriors in the back, protecting against any potential vanguards by the Norskins. But that is going to be it, and let's get this battle going, as both armies are going to be approaching. Wulfric going to be taking a little bit of cover in the tree line, as the cannons are going to be targeting him. He is still in the line of fire for the most part, though he isn't fully protected, so he should be able to at least screen out a few of the shots. And the rest of the forces, though, going to be approaching a very nice pendulum, taking those Iron Breakers down to about half health. Still very hard cast to dodge, but had that been the previous values for its damage, man, those Iron Breakers would have been in rough shape indeed. But now those shots are going to be raining in, and man, those Marauders are just taking a beating. Now the Thunderer is going to be targeting those feral mammoths, no better target for them. And then Grombrindle also going to be looking to get in on that action. So we do have a Seafang going to be arcing its way right down the line of the Thunderers. Not really doing a whole lot of damage there, unfortunately, even though that cast went right through him, though Wulfric the Wanderer himself is going to be getting in, shutting them down. He's going to be roaming these back lines very, very effectively now. Not a whole lot that the Dawi can do to really effectively take them out. Now, a Flash Bomb has gone down into the front lines, getting that Feral Mammoth rampaging and actually routing now. It still has a ton of HP left, and the Dawi don't really have anything that can really take it out. And man, Wulfric is taking so much damage himself. He is just getting melted by those Thunderer fire, and he is now just kind of stuck up in the Iron Breakers. But yeah, he's taken so much damage. Those Thunderers certainly getting a ton of value this game, and the cannon crew just absolutely giving him the business indeed, as he is just gonna get taken down. Man, Wulfric, oh, the poor man himself, just gets absolutely lit up in that battle there. The cannon, or the Feral Mammoth, is on to the Thunderers. However, yeah, that loss of Wulfric is going to be a very, very unfortunate thing indeed. And Grombrindle does pop his... Grombrindle has no fear, going to be saving these Thunderers and the front line of Ironbreakers from routing. A nice pop there, since these Thunderers were wavering from that pendulum cast. However, I don't know if they would have been broken anyways, though the Norscan Ice Trolls breaking the far right flank of Longbeards is now going to be running rampant in the back line, getting on top of these Thunderers just as Grombrindle has no fear wears off. They are right on top of them and going to be wavering those Thunderers very, very quickly. Marauders in the back line with these Norscan Ice Trolls finally shutting down the cannons, but where are those Slayers? Those Slayers are definitely going to be needed, and they are going to be up here looking to be hunting that Feral Mammoth, and get on top of the Feral Mammoth and the Norscan Ice Trolls. Be quite well for them. They do want to avoid any of the Marauders, though. They're not going to be trading so effectively into them. And the last of the ammo of the iron, or one volley, I'm trying to target that Fimir Balefine. But so far, with the exception of the loss of Wulfric, these Mammoths have done quite well, able to sustain themselves, and just that massive HP pool is really kind of what's doing it for them. Thunderers have retreated a little farther into the forest, still going to have some nice targeting on those Mammoths, as that one is going to be wavering. But the cannon crews, the cannon crews have done quite well against Wulfric, so I don't think they've really suffered too much from getting taken out with how much ammo they have left. But these Marauders with great weapons, able to kind of really whittle through, especially the Dwarf Warriors, they do quite well. Struggle a bit with Longbeards, and especially the Ironbreakers without additional support. But the Ironbreakers slowly getting broken down bit by the Feral Mammoths and that Fimir Balefine. And the Fimir Balefine does have armor sundering as well, so that will assist against those Ironbreakers, it really kind of breaking them down. And surprisingly enough, all of the Norscan Ice Trolls are still alive and kicking in the back line. And now that they're on top of Thunderers and stuff, there isn't really a whole lot close by that can really break them. We have Grombrindle, who will do quite well. He is going to be wavering these trolls. But the where are the Slayers? These Slayers are still, actually, where are the Slayers? So the Slayers are engaging with the Marauder Champions. Definitely not the target that they want to be engaging with. They need to pull out of that, though with how few they have left, I don't think that's going to make a whole lot of difference at this point. Now, what the Dwarves have left, they still have plenty of Dwarf Warriors, Longbeards. I'm actually not sure if they have any Longbeards left, but those Ironbreakers, and they still have some Thunderers kind of off on the wings, but Grombrindle's going to have to be the anchor for the Dawi at this point. He is unbreakable, and if the Cannon Crew and Thunderers can survive long enough to get back onto their equipment and start firing into the Norscan Ice Trolls or the Mammoths, but that's so much HP in all of those units. Like, if we take a look at this Mammoth, it still has 4,000 HP, and all of the Thunderers are pretty much in a dire straits here. There's 25 models there. That Cannon Crew is being taken offline by the Mammoth. This one's taken offline by the Norscan Ice Trolls. And the Slayers are very, very low. Only 2 of them left. So yeah, they're pretty much a non-factor at this point. Ironbreakers held that line for as long as they could. They're still around, but they are very much depleted. So I think the Norscans might have that critical mass of HP, but they are kind of low on leadership, and that is kind of the problem the Feral Mammoth and the Trolls might have. But as long as the Dawi don't have anything to chase them off, they should all return, except for these units are getting pretty close to that white line. If they rout, that's going to be very helpful for the Dawi. They do return, though, just as they get close, and they will be able to kind of start regenerating, and these units are going to be routing away from that white line. Definitely not what the Dawi want here. They definitely need to consolidate their forces. They need to kind of abandon the rest of the crew on the periphery and just kind of reform their lines around Grombrindle here. Kind of hold that line against the tide, and the Norscans are going to try and regroup themselves as they kind of clean up the Thunderers and the Cannon Crews on the outskirts of this battle. Though, yeah, I don't think that the Dawi have enough firepower to put down the Norscan Ice Trolls and the 2 Mammoths that are left, even without Wulfric. A nice dodge by these Dwarf Warriors. They definitely need to conserve as much as they can. So taking that cast would have been pretty disastrous, considering that's pretty much their healthiest unit that they have left. But a very nice heads up by TJ there. Now that the Norskins have regrouped themselves, they will progress and charge into the front line. Now the cannons is going to be trying to fire into these mammoths. However, the tree line is going to be making that a little bit harder for them, though the mammoths themselves are going to suffer from that as well. And here, there is that flash bomb by Grombrindal, reducing melee defense, charge speed, and speed on this mammoth, and able to break one of them, and that is very, very helpful for the Dawi. And Grombrindal's now going to try and focus his attention on that other mammoth, get rid of them, and hopefully withstand against the rest of the forces. Now, Grombrindal alone might be able to deal with, I mean, with the trolls. If their leadership holds, they might be able to kind of hold off against Grombrindal, and the cycling from the mammoths is going to be probably doing the most damage. So if Grombrindal's able to deal with the mammoth, the trolls might have the leadership penalties that can cause the Dawi to get back into this, but the infantry of the Dawi just isn't going to be up to the task to deal with everything that's left, and all the Dawi have to, or the Norskins have to do, is make sure they kind of stay away from Grombrindal as best they can. I mean, the Fimir Balefin, though, he does have armor sundering, so that is going to help when the rest of the infantry does close in, even though they are all armor piercing. Everything is armor piercing here for the Norskins, going to do quite a beating onto Grombrindal, and yeah, just Grombrindal's not able to really deal enough damage to that feral mammoth to really break him, and he is just taking way too much damage in return. And yeah, and the rest of the Dawi do rout to army losses, and it is now just Grombrindal against all of the Norscan forces, and he is not going to be doing so hot as the Fimir Balefin does kind of charge on in. Yeah, Grombrindal is going to be going down, and the Norskins are going to be taking it. It is only a matter of time at this point, though Grombrindal will stand and fight to his bitter last breath, though that mammoth will surely have something to say as he does finally put Grombrindal down. One last flash bomb before he does get sent off to join the rest of his Dawi kin on as he does fall in the field of battle. Norskins take it, and the Dawi just unable to hold that line. Take a look at the after battle report. Feral mammoths definitely more than paying for themselves. 2742 on this unit here. That is some impressive stats for the feral mammoth. Generally, it's kind of hit or miss with mammoths in this matchup. They have a ton of HP, so they can absorb a ton of fire. The Norscan ice trolls as well, paying for themselves quite effectively. And even the Marauder champions, surprisingly enough, 1400 here. I mean, with that armor piercing value, you kind of expect them to actually trade fairly effectively. The rest of the units really actually didn't, though. The Marauders with great weapons, I believe they cost about 500, I want to say. And the Fimir Balefin with Shadows not doing so well. Neither did Wulfric, as he did get absolutely shot to pieces on that initial approach by the Thunderers and the Cannons, who some of them did fairly decently, just absolutely taken Wulfric down. But otherwise, just not quite enough on the Dawi to really hold that line. I think the troll hammers here for the Dawi are very, very nice because of their ridiculous burst damage to large targets. So against chariots, mammoths, they just take them down so quickly. You'll often see gyrocopters as well, because the Norskins, especially this army here, had there been gyrocopters, this Norscan army had absolutely nothing that could have dealt with it. They would have had absolutely free reign, would have been able to just easily snipe out Wulfric, easily snipe out that Fimir Balefin, and do a ton of damage to the feral mammoths without any opposition whatsoever. So that was a very risky gambit by Wei in that regards, because of how popular gyrocopters are. It's very common to see 4 of them, and it's very hard for the Norskins to then deal with all of those flying units very effectively. So something in that regards may have been quite helpful for the Dawi in this case, but regardless, Norskins were able to pull through in a very exciting fashion, and I do hope you all enjoyed the video, and as always, have a good one.